Hello and welcome to another Fox vlog. My microphone has cat fur on it. Everything has cat fur on it in this house. That is a given. Where are we at? I have a brand new cover for the Cinderella retelling, which is part of the Solstice War Fairy Tale series, so we'll get to that. I have 9, I can't do fingers, days, yes, 9 days left until Darkhaven hardcover special edition Operation Chocolate Overload launches on BackerKit. So that's super exciting. And I have made progress on the next book of the Solstice War Fairy Tales. First up, Solstice War Fairy Tales. So this is my ongoing collection of fairy tale retellings where we don't glorify the violence that is inherent in fairy tales, and lots of stories, sort of challenge violence and what it means. That's not really anything new, but still in fairy tales there is so much that is taken for granted. And in this particular run, I really wanted to dig into how do you set that up and then subvert it or challenge it, or just don't let it stand as a given that might is right, essentially. It's what a lot of them come down to. So that's the challenge. That's how it's ended up with this whole war background. And also, how can you justify some of the unspeakably awful things that are done to people with terrible curses and choices by parents, particularly when you start looking at the mothers and fathers, often kings and queens, in fairy tales. Yeah, highly questionable behaviour, even for fictional kings and queens from overly simplified moralistic stories. So we pull all that apart. And if a person does something wild to somebody else, we don't hide that or hide behind it. Or so, a parent locks their child in a tower. Well, let's actually dig into how that might feel, perhaps. I don't know. That's where it sort of started, I suppose. And now we have the Sleeping Beauty retelling, which is Another World Stars. We have the 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, which is actually 6 Dancing Princes. That's the Rose Ball Rebels. And the third in the series will be a Cinderella retelling, which is As I Command. And the cover is now complete. It is available for pre-order on Amazon. It will also be briefly available for pre-order on my website for those who are not in the Amazon ecosystem. You can pick it up before it goes live on Amazon there. Stay tuned for that. That will be coming. Cinderella is a largely gender-swapped, although gender-swapped and then expanded, version of Cinderella, where we have the wealthy weapons manufacturer's daughter looking to make an advantageous match to a royal family currently in a war, because if you can marry into a family that has money and is at war, well, then you've probably got some pretty lucrative contracts coming your way. That was the thinking. Of course, you can't ever really get quite past the simplification of real-world economics required to make fairy tale retellings in a fantasy land work. But here we are, and she meets the enigmatic Lucian, Lord of Adiantu, which is a fairy island, but he also claims to be a pirate. Bit strange, not sure what's going on there, but he's somewhat intriguing. She's interested. Even though he is not a suitable match, he will not bring any advantageous contracts to the Bicata Industries company, and her father, of course, will not approve. And then the both of them meet Jules on the dance floor. If you've read Rose Ball Rebels, you know Jules is a very good dancer and just a generally fun person, except he's changed a little from Rebels. Something has happened to him, and he is not quite the same happy-go-lucky party all day person that he was. So we find him quite wounded, physically and emotionally, and really embodying the cost of this war that Marguerite's company has been supporting for years, and that she inadvertently has been, signing off on deliveries and all sorts of contracts for years, not really thinking about the cost and what those deals might mean for people. So this really brings it home to her. She has to now think about what she wants to do going forward. Is she going to give up all of her ambition and dreams of becoming one of the prominent businesswomen, first businesswoman of Bakata Industries in her home country, or is she going to change her trajectory and perhaps do something different with the potential power that is within her grasp? Fourth in the Solstice War fairy tales is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This one is sapphic, except one of the partners has been masquerading as a prince for a while, because that's just how it works when you have 6 dancing princes. They're all princes, except one of them was not. She is in hiding, is essentially the Beast, which is a notorious and most feared assassin in the Floral Realms, and runs into a witch who comes stumbling into the castle grounds, who looking for a cursed weapon, actually, because this castle is reputed to be cursed. Of course, that could have a lot to do with the fact that there is a deadly assassin living in it. It turns out that this is not the first time these two have met, although Belle the witch does not realise that straight away. So we have a bit of a second chance romance sort of thing going on. Terrible angsting over, being cursed and being an assassin and being a curse-hunting witch who is now injured by a curse. Yeah, the draft of that is finished. It is off with alpha readers as we speak. So looking forward to continuing working on that one. And the 5th book, there will be 7 of these. 5th book in the series I had planned to be The Princess and the Pea. The Princess and the Pea, actually I quite like it as a story. It's very simple and sort of sweet in a way, in terms of, as a metaphor for looking for something in a partner that is a bit intangible, and that is sensitivity. So there are lots of different ways you can think about fairy tales, obviously, but that's what I took from this one. And I had initially intended it to follow Prince Noah, who is another Roseball Rebels character, anxious, bookish sort, does a lot of research. And then I realised that actually I need him at the end. I need him in book 7, because he's going to be the linchpin who kicks off the final fix this whole war-torn country problem. So somebody else needs to do The Princess and the Pea, and that is going to be Gabrielle, who is yet another of the princes. There are 7 princes in total, 7 books. There we go. Yeah, and that's new. That has been a recent discovery. So I think what I have now is an arranged marriage, and it is not at all what I had expected for Gabriel, but he'll go with it. He is demisexual, I believe, and I had initially thought maybe even ace, but I think probably just one of those people who doesn't fall in love easily or very often, but when he does, he will fall slowly, but a long way. So that will be quite lovely to write, I think. Yeah, when he finds his person, it's going to be quite a deep relationship. Difficult, of course, to do in a very short format, because we are keeping these as novellas. Novellas, Fox. Yeah. So that's all happened in the last 24 hours. Complete rethinking of the final 3 books in the series. Hugo's relationship has changed. That's book 6. He is Snow White. Exciting though. It's nice when I feel sometimes with writing that, well, often actually, I get stuck, and there's so many reasons why a writer might get stuck on a project, and sometimes it is you need to take a break and walk away. Sometimes it is you've worked too hard and you need to refill the creative well, or you just need to take some time off and let your brain settle and let your mind kind of relax a little bit. Sometimes it is a more logistical problem. Sometimes it is your body actually going, no, the ergonomics of your computer setup are not great, and we're not going to let you focus until you fix it. That happens. Could be any number of problems with the story as well, and it could be that you're sort of bored with it because it is boring. It could be because you're bored with it because you've just been sitting with it for a long time and it's not boring. You just have to press on. Like, there are so many reasons to get stuck, but I tend to find mostly with mine it's because something needs to change and I don't know what it is yet. So in this case, I've been poking at Noah, Prince Noah, as the book 5 protagonist, and the Princess and the Pea, and his relationship with a stable master's son or something like that, and it just, like, it was fine. I could have made it work. And that's where I was sort of going, should I just am I just suffering from, I've been in this series for a little while, I've got that kind of fatigue with it, shiny new ideas are sparkling over here somewhere and I just want to go and do them. Should I press on? Because that's what this is. It's just me looking for distractions. And then I was out walking with my partner and I said something and it just sort of landed in my head that maybe actually what I needed for the princess and the pea, rather than it being a royal and a commoner, it is two royals, because it just uncomplicates the story. And I have got other pairs in this series that are not royal pairs. Actually, none of the others are royal pairs. So it probably would be good to have a pair where actually they are both royals. This is an arranged marriage for a necessary alliance in this political climate. And they're going to have to make the best of it. So it occurred to me that that might be the answer. And then I thought, well, actually, then it doesn't have to be Noah. I don't know how, but because that's unrelated. Noah was clearly not the right prince for this story. But sometimes just one of those little things comes in like, oh, the way I was planning this romance isn't right. What if I do that instead? And then suddenly a whole cascade of other things unlock. And now I can see where I want the series to go. So that's good. I'm happy. That's Solstice War fairy tales. They're taking up a lot of space, obviously. And the other thing taking up a lot of space is Darkhaven, Operation Chocolate Overload, which launches, like I said, very soon. And it's on track. I have a fair bit of work still to do behind the scenes, but it's going pretty well. I'm quite excited to see how the chocolate polls go. So this is where backers can vote on things such as, how do you eat your Maltesers? Which is the best colour of M&M? What kind of chocolate do you go to in a crisis? And these results will be included in the final annotated edition of the book, which will be quite fun. I have a few bits of illustration sort of stuff, just casual sketchy things, some bonus bookmarks that you can pick up by either being an early backer or by backing my project, and also Chains of Deceit by A.E. Ziegler. There will be more on that next week when it is imminently dropping. For now, I think I've done enough. I shall go and keep working. Thank you very much for watching if you have made it this far, and subscribe if you want more rambly author vlogs and updates on my projects, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.